Hello there everyone. I decided to do this video because I was seeing a lot of confusion with newcomers and veterans of the Resident Evil franchise regarding the weapons and damage in this game. I for one was very confused when I first started. I was used to shooting Lickers twice with a shotgun and that was it, and then I come into this game and I died 3 times on my first Licker encounter while wasting 4 to 5 shotgun shells with no effects. So I decided to do this little test, and this is all this is, a test of all of Leon's weapons, okay, and the attachments, with the exception of the flamethrower attachment, because by the time you get the attachment itself, you're far into the game that you can't go back to the area that I actually decided to test this. Regarding that, I chose to test every single weapon on Marvin for a couple of reasons. First of all, he's close to a safe room, which makes it a lot easier for me to record this footage. Second of all, he is the only zombie that when he actually dies, not just falls over but dies, Leon has a reaction to it. This way, there is no way for you guys to say that I was cheating on this test because he's actually dead. Leon confirms this. Okay? And there's also a third reason, is that the zombie's HP is very erratical. There are sometimes you will find a zombie with 1,000, 1,500 HP and whatnot, and Marvin is only 690 or 680 HP, which makes it a really fast test and very consistent as well. I should also point out I am using the SRT for the Resident Evil 2 remake, which shows me the HP of the enemy that I'm fighting. This only makes it easier for me to confirm that he's dead, but you guys also have the confirmation because of the line that Leon says right after. So without further ado, let's get into the test with each weapon, starting with the Matilda. So starting with the Matilda, it is Leon's default handgun. It holds 12 rounds and it's actually pretty decent. All the testing that I did 3 times with each weapon, and this first batch is only body shots, and I got pretty interesting results. It took 9 shots the first time, and then the other 2 times took 9 and 10 shots. These were recorded attempts. There were things they did off camera that took the exact same amount. So it's 9 and 10 shots, body shots to take down Marvin. So take from that what you will. One important thing to notice about Marvin, he only starts actually being active when he turns around. Until then, he's doing a scripted sequence. So you can damage him, but he won't attack you until he stops and starts to turn. So keep that in mind if you ever need to. I don't know. Here on the third attempt, it took 10 shots to bring him down. So 9 on the first 2 and 10 right here. I also tested headshots, as you'll see in the next clip, just to show that headshots and body shots do the same amount of damage. Even shots on the limbs as well also do the same amount of damage. So you see 10 shots killed him, just like the 10 shots to the body did. And here we finish off the Matilda with no attachments, with headshots. This was just to show that it doesn't need to be headshots to down them. Headshots just usually stuns them a little bit longer. So let's jump straight into the Matilda with all of the attachments. So here we have the Matilda with all of the attachments. All of the attachments give the Matilda a 24 round capacity, less recoil and a little bit more accuracy, and the capacity to fire a 3 round burst. According to my test, the Matilda was the most consistent weapon of them all, dealing pretty much enough damage to down them with just 9 shots or 3 bursts. And just to clarify something that I just stated a little bit earlier, about damage being neutral, depend with no regards to where you hit it. I'm talking about zombies and lickers overall. Of course, on bosses and IVs, things change a little bit. Dogs as well, you can hit them anywhere, it doesn't change anything. But the bosses do change, and that would be a whole separate video to talk about that. So that is the Matilda with all of the attachments. Pretty consistent. So here we'll have the M19 that is used for Leon's second scenario, or B scenario if you will. And this was a little bit more tricky because Mr. X was roaming the hall, as you just saw. So I had to pick an opportune time and shoot Marvin down, and then rinse and repeat. On the second scenario, Leon doesn't say anything when he's dead, so I was just using the SRT for this one. So when I stopped shooting, that means that he was dead. Overall, the M19 was a little bit inconsistent. There were times when it took the same amount of shots as the Matilda, around 8 to 9 shots, and there were times it took a little bit more. Please note that inconsistent does not mean bad, okay? The only really consistent thing about the M19 was its stopping power. It pretty easily stunned Marvin, threw him off balance, a lot easier than some of the other guns. And I noticed that the damage, while not being very consistent, can be reliable, because sometimes it did, according to the SRT, about 5% of damage, and other times it did about 20% of damage. So it was really out there, but very, very reliable. And right here I decided I wanted to play a little bit with Mr. X with the M19. Didn't work out too well over there, so I just decided to do it from the safe area. But I also, right there and then, I decided to test something. Something that some people told me were a thing, which is the chip right on Mr. X's head. You can see it as I close in right there. There is the chip. And some people were speculating that if you shoot it, it does more damage or something happens. So I decided to test it while he was down, because doing it while he's up and gunning for you is a little bit hard. Nothing happened. And this was right when I saved the game and Marvin just came in here. It was actually really surprising because I didn't know that he could. Because on the first scenario he doesn't come in here, and now he did. It was kind of surprising. But yeah, on to the DLC weapons now. So, starting off the DLC weapons with Jill's Samurai Edge. Her gun only draws faster, that's the difference it has from all the other guns. So, Leon goes from the standby to the ready stance faster than with the other weapons. Other than that, I found out that it took actually more shots than the Matilda to bring Marvin down. On this first try, it took 12 shots, and it kept a pretty good consistency throughout my other test runs, but that's pretty much all I have to say about this gun. It didn't feel very special or anything. It actually felt a little bit weaker, and drawing faster, I couldn't even tell the difference. It didn't change anything for me. So unfortunately, Jill's handgun, which to me is the best looking one, isn't really all that useful. But that's my opinion. Take from that what you will. I also noticed that Jill's gun has about the same stopping power as the Matilda without any of the attachments. It takes a couple of shots, to maybe 3 to 4 shots to stun Marvin, but it still takes more shots to down him or kill him. So and now we have Chris's Samurai Edge. It is stated that it's more accurate, and it actually is. The reticle closes in a lot faster than any other gun. Like seriously, it's amazing how fast it closes in. And not only that, but when it's wide open like it is right now, it's actually very accurate as well. It would most of the time hit near the center, unlike some other weapons which will go all over the place. The damage, however, was really inconsistent. It reminded me a lot actually of the M19, being that sometimes it took 12 shots, sometimes it took 9, sometimes it took 10. So it was around that area, but those 3 to 4 bullets sometimes can make a difference. Other than that, Chris's gun felt like one of the most balanced ones that I tested. Out of all the handguns, I mean. Because it was pretty accurate, it did decent enough damage, even though it wasn't very consistent, but it did good enough damage. And it had pretty good stopping power, so it felt to me like Chris's gun was the most balanced of all the handguns. And now we get Wesker's Samurai Edge. It was kind of told that it's like a mix between Jill and Chris's. That, from my experience, is inaccurate. The description of the weapon says it's more robust, it has more power, or whatnot. Not in those words. And that's exactly what it does. It's stronger, taking 9 shots the first time, 8 the second, and 7 shots the third. It's pretty accurate, not as accurate as Chris's gun, but it's pretty accurate. And it's one of the most reliable ones that I found. It's not as balanced as Chris's, you know. I mean, if you want more accuracy, go with Chris's handgun, but this one is a little bit more powerful, and I'm guessing it can also down Mr. X and some bosses with a lot more ease. So Wesker's gun, overall, handgun, in the questions of power, it's superior than the other handguns. And after this, we get to see the Infinite Samurai Edge that we unlock in the game. And we have arrived at the Infinite Samurai Edge that we unlock in the game, and it's actually pretty good. It's comparable to all of the other weapons. A lot of people said that it was weaker than the other weapons because it has infinite ammo, but that's not really true. It is actually pretty much as accurate as the Matilda or Jill's handgun. It has a pretty good fire rate, and it downed Marvin in 10 shots the first time. So the infinite handgun is really good actually, and you can really rely on it. Not just because it's infinite, Capcom made it useless. Quite the contrary. Unlocking the infinite handgun is actually a really good treat, because you get a very good weapon with infinite ammo. So, kudos Capcom, you did good this time. Also, just to clarify one thing, if I damage Marvin in any way before he gets up, he starts getting up, doesn't matter where I am in the map. So that just goes to show that this is fresh. I'm not doing any damage to Marvin before I start recording. Okay, so moving on. And now we get to the shotgun without any attachments, just as it is. And we all know that at close range on the head, it's a one-hit kill, and close range to the waistline, it chops the zombie in half. So I wanted to do it at mid-range, where the damage is still pretty high, because the farther it is, the lower the damage, but not close enough that it's a one-hit kill. And it turns out that 2 body shots is enough. So you can actually get a lot of shotgun ammo throughout the game, so you don't necessarily have to go for the headshot every single time, especially when the situation is kind of rough. There are times when there are multiple zombies around you, and if you stop to aim for their head with their erratic movement, you might end up getting bit and crowded very fast. So sometimes just going for those quick body shots like I'm showing right here is enough, and you do get enough ammo for that shotgun, so it's not really an issue as long as you don't waste the ammo. Also, it's important to notice that the shotgun also pretty much destroys any limbs that you hit at mid to close range. Especially at close range, it's a one-shot wonder. So now we go to the shotgun with all of the attachments. Now onto the upgraded shotgun. Overall, it just feels nicer to use it. I mean, the recoil is a lot more manageable, and the spread seems to be a little bit less, so you can shoot from farther away, but damage-wise, it felt exactly the same. Like I said, I was using the SRT so I could see the health percentage of the zombie, Marvin in this case, and with the normal shotgun, after the first shot, he would be left with about 39 to 35% HP, and with the upgraded shotgun, I had the same numbers, no difference whatsoever. There was only one shot, which was a little bit closer than the other ones I did on my tests, that he ended up with 25. I ended up cutting the clip out so it wouldn't show any inconsistencies, since it was at a different range. But damage-wise, it's pretty much the same. It just feels better and it's easier to shoot with the upgraded shotgun. And now the flamethrower. The flamethrower is actually kind of interesting because it does damage in 2 ways. First of all, the initial burst does damage, and it does damage over time as the enemy is on fire. So with a continuous stream of fire, it killed Marvin with around 114 flamer fuel. I'm sure it can be done with even less because of the damage over time, but the continuous burst just adds up to the damage and it ends up being higher DPS. But you can just set it on fire and let it be for a while and it will probably die out because the damage over time that fire does in this game is pretty incredible. It's going to be easier to see that with Claire's video that I'm going to do testing her weapons, but you can rely on the damage over time of fire weapons on the game. So like I said, this was done with a continuous burst. You can just set them on fire and let them go, and it will probably be enough. And here is the Magnum. Firstly, without any attachments, I tested on body shots and also I did a small test on headshots with the Magnum. So first off, with body shots, it took 2 shots to down Marvin. All the 3 times I tested, all of the times, 2 shots. So that was pretty consistent. It shows that the Magnum has a very high damage potential, and unlike the shotgun, you can do that from any range. It doesn't lose a lot of power with distance, unlike the shotgun. So it can be reliable to clear out zombies, even lickers, dogs, whatever, at any range that you need. If you're trying for a no damage run, for an example, you can maybe use the Magnum that way, since unlike previous game, the original, it isn't that much reliable on bosses, and I'll get to that later. Here are the headshot tests that I did, and it is a 1-hit kill on the head. And I also tried at a farther distance just to see if it was the same at higher range, and it is. I'm very far away from him. And you see that it will be a one-shot as well. And here I was trying to separate him in half, as I've seen the Magnum do before, but without the upgrades, I shot him twice in the waistline and it didn't work. So, and now the upgraded Magnum with all of the attachments, and I just have to say, wow, what a difference. First of all, the reticle closes in lightning fast. It closes about faster than Chris's handgun, which is amazing. Or maybe just as fast. And the damage got a huge buff. Marvin went down with one shot over here. On the second clip, he took 2 shots. I think, I don't remember exactly the number, but I know that on the SRT showed that he had about like 5 HP remaining. It was like almost nothing. And on the third clip, I was able to cut him in half with the Magnum. So with the upgraded Magnum, you can do it. As you can see right here, shot in the waistline, and bam, there he goes. And here I did a couple of tests as well with grenades and a knife as well. So simple grenade toss and he goes down. With the overhead throw, which was right on top of him, I tried this other one to maybe lob him behind him, and still, yes. The AoE of the grenade is really large. And then on this one, I let him grab me and shove the grenade in his mouth. Now, I will have to do further testing with this if the explosion when you put it on a zombie's mouth affect other enemies around him. I know the flash does, but the grenade I will have to test later. I'll do it on Claire's video. And then here I use the combat knife, the regular one in the game, not the infinite knife. I tried to bait his attack, he wouldn't help, so I just started slashing away. Got a little love bite there. And just to clarify, you can see it on the top, I am doing this test at 120 FPS approximately. So the knife damage is a little bit higher, but you can also do it at a 60 frames per second, it doesn't change that much. And now with the infinite knife, I did it with both knives. This time I let him bite me. I did it with both knives just to show that the damage between the knife and the infinite knife isn't really, you know, different. It's pretty much the same thing. You see, he is already dead. And then here I just decided to throw in a little extra and test out the infinite guns that you can unlock in the game, starting with the submachine gun, the LE85, which it looks a lot like the MP5. I don't know why they didn't do it that way. And pretty straightforward. The submachine gun doesn't do a lot of damage, but it has great stopping power and an amazing fire rate, so it racks up really fast. Then the Gatling gun. The Gatling gun is actually really surprising how much damage it actually does. It's kind of crazy. It has the wind-up time, but you can get around that with just, you know, repeatedly pressing the button. So yeah, that was it. Pretty quick. And just for giggles, I tried the rocket launcher. It is a one-hit kill on normal enemies. Not on bosses though. But I just really wanted to, you know, just do it for fun. And the results was actually kind of funny. He just flew up in the air and did a flip. It was pretty cool. So yeah, that about wraps it up. I hope you guys found this video useful somehow. And I will do other videos. First one will be Claire's weapons. I'll be testing all of them out. And then I will probably do a couple of boss videos just to show which weapons are most effective or not. just to try and illustrate things. I will try to, in the next video, put the SRT on screen so you guys can check the enemy's HP along with me. Right now I have a couple of technical issues regarding that, but I will try to get around it so you guys can see as well. Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a comment below if you have anything to say about that, if you think I was wrong with anything, and if you're right, I will double check and fix any mistakes that I made. Or if you just have something to add, go ahead and leave it in the comments. And that is it. I will see you guys next time.